Today's video is sponsored by SimpliSafe. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. A couple of months ago, Microsoft officially stopped supporting a major part of the Xbox 360 online infrastructure. Yes, sadly, the Xbox 360 marketplace is now shut down forever. Truly the end of an era.
It's probably ideal to realize that the store is dying.
This Xbox 360 shutdown drama got me looking into the history of Xbox Live itself and kind of reflecting on some of my own experiences from back in the day. Like growing up, I remember playing Black Ops on the 360 and I always remember hearing these outlandish urban legends from players. You know, some guy getting so mad over Xbox Live that he drives to the opponent's house and beats them up or something like that. And reflecting on all of this, I'm thinking, has something like that ever actually happened, or was it just all myths? Well, I did a bit of research, and no, these aren't just myths, some insane shit has happened. From a kid banned from Xbox Live by a court judge, to teenagers attempting murder after getting trash-talked, all the way to predators exchanging Xbox gift cards for CP, this is a chronological history of Xbox Live-related crimes. Our first Xbox Live crime story takes us all the way back to 2006 as we look at a bizarre grooming case involving a 20-year-old man and a 15-year-old who met each other on Halo of all places. Back in 2006, in Spokane, Washington, a 15-year-old girl was playing Halo 2 on Xbox Live when she befriended a 20-year-old man named Joshua Stetar. This individual being from Granville, New York. On Joshua's MySpace account, it said that he was a materials handler for a pallet company and that he was an adamant Christian. His MySpace was peppered with Bible verses, where he had also written about how he aspired to be a Christian school teacher. But lingering deep beyond that Christian facade was a twisted and nefarious young man who had begun an obsession with a 15-year-old girl. Apparently, Mr. Stetar had begun sending gifts to the girl's house, which included a bouquet of flowers and other items that signify affection. The parents, Mr. Dennis Garcia and his wife Jerry, would get wind of what was going on and returned all of the gifts to the sender. But that didn't stop the obsessed Joshua, who was reportedly flooding the young girl's phone with hundreds of text messages all throughout the year of 2007. The mother was able to change her daughter's number, but the committed stalker got the young girl's new number through a mutual friend and began sending even more texts. The girl's family basically spent a whole year telling Josh to leave them alone, but he didn't listen, and it eventually got worse when Josh decided that the best course of action was to actually drive 40 hours cross-country to the girl's residence so that he could meet her in person. When Josh arrived to the area late at night after his long journey, he began driving by the young girl's home, all the while sending obsessively personal text messages to her that detailed his propensity for his stalkerish behavior, describing the vehicle he was in to the girl as a gray Oldsmobile. And on this evening, the parents would report seeing a gray Oldsmobile in the neighborhood. He was most certainly nearby. Sometime later, when he apparently wasn't getting enough attention from his victim, Josh then upped the ante by sending a message to the girl that read, quote, "Tell the cops that I'm going to rape you and your sister." Naturally, this message got everyone's attention, and thus the police were notified, and they arrested Josh a short time later at a local Econo lodge on December 29th of 2007. While being questioned by police, he told officers that he was able to get the girl's information by simply Googling her name after he played Halo with her. But officers also learned something even more concerning. It turned out this was not the first time Josh had been near the girl's residence. On October 23, 2007, Josh had secretly flown out to Spokane and ordered a U-Haul van to drive by the victim's home. Her family was totally unaware of this. It was also found that Josh had discovered the cousin of his first stalking victim, which was a young girl. He also began harassing this individual as well with text messages until the police stepped in and had him stopped. After being arrested, Josh would later post bail and was given a no-contact order. During this, a media outlet interviewed the stalker, where Josh would say the following. He says, quote, "I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not sick. I'm not crazy. Everyone thinks I am. I don't have perverted thoughts. I don't belong in jail. I'm not dangerous. This extremely unstable Halo player would be arrested again in January of 2008 after the authorities learned that Josh had attempted to get in touch with the minor after trying to volunteer at her local high school, which reportedly violated the no contact order. Later on November 5th of 2008, Josh was released from the Spokane County Jail after pleading guilty to felony stalking and 2 counts of violating a protective order. He was given 2 years probation and a no contact order on the victim, as well as being ordered to seek mental health treatment. It seemed that things would not go according to plan though, as in January of 2010, a fugitive from justice warrant was issued against Joshua by the Washington State Department of Corrections after he had reportedly escaped from community custody. He was later located in his hometown area of Granville, New York, and was arrested on January 2nd of 2010. Now, as of 2010, there haven't really been any other updates that I can find except for this one. There's an obituary for Joshua Ryan Stetar, who died suddenly on July 10th of 2013. The dates here do kind of match up. This Joshua was born October 7th of 1987, which would have made him 20 years old in 2007. And the pictures look similar to the ones showcased in other articles, and he was described in the obituary as a very devout Christian. Although the obituary states he lived in Houston, Texas, it does provide detail that he grew up in Granville, New York, which is where articles have described Josh as being from. So I'm pretty confident that this is actually him, and Josh Stetar is actually dead now. So if that's the case, his victims don't have to worry about him any longer because he's dead.
When it comes to security here at Wavy Industries, I only work with the best. This video is sponsored by SimpliSafe. With internet ops around every corner, I keep my domain locked down with SimpliSafe cameras, motion sensors, panic buttons, keypads, entryway monitors, and more. SimpliSafe coupled with my vicious attack dog Hank, you're gonna have a bad time trying to get in here. SimpliSafe is easy to set up and install. Download the app, plug in the SimpliSafe base, and linking devices like sensors and cameras is all done in 1 or 2 button presses for most of them. The app itself is super robust, allowing you to live view your cameras and arm or disarm the system remotely. That's pretty much all there is to say, right?
You forgot to mention SimpliSafe Active Guard.
I almost forgot, sorry, I'll get that. With SimpliSafe Active Guard, monitoring agents react in real time to suspicious individuals approaching your home. They can see and speak to them, trigger alarms and spotlights, or even request urgent police be dispatched. All that before a break-in happens. No other home security system offers protection like this both inside and outside the home. So protect your home or place of business like I have with SimpliSafe. You all can save 60% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for a free Select Professional monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/wavywebsurf to customize yours. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Jumping to 2009, we have a criminal who used Xbox Live reward points and gift cards to solicit inappropriate pictures from the underage. From the years of 2009 to 2010, 22-year-old Timothy Wayne Hammerstone of Polk City, Florida, was working as an AMC movie theater clerk at Walt Disney World. And in his spare time, when not working here, he played a lot of Xbox and had accumulated quite a bit of Xbox reward points that could be redeemed to purchase digital Xbox gift cards. These cards naturally could be used by anyone who had them to purchase games or DLC content on Xbox Live. Timothy had a lot of points and a lot of digital gift cards purchased using them. And it sadly appears that the man was using his Xbox Live wealth to persuade and solicit nudes from underage boys as young as 10 years old, using Xbox Live and his console. The story goes that in December of 2009, Mr. Hammerstone had invited over a 10-year-old boy that he had met online using Xbox. There would also be other minors that Mr. Hammerstone interacted with, but it was reported that there was only one victim, at least in terms of, sexual stuff. Timothy Hammerstone would allegedly pay for the boy's access to online games and essentially groom him. In an effort to get illegal material from this child, Timothy would explain to the kid that he was in fact gay, and his mother refused to allow him to look at pornography. So Timothy said to satisfy his needs, he had to go out and find his own pictures, which was the reason why he was talking to this kid. And for these pictures, he allegedly stated that he would exchange $20 worth of Xbox gaming points. Or gift cards, I guess, would be the actual tradable currency. The boy agreed to this illegal exchange, and as it continued, Hammerstone would describe in detail what poses he wanted the boy to use when he's taking the photos. Later in 2010, the minor's mother had learned about these interactions and reported it to her local authorities in Folsom City, California, who in turn sent the information to the Polk City authorities in Timothy's local area on August 25th of 2010. The police then arrested and charged Mr. Hammerstone on August 26 of 2010 with 16 counts of child pornography after searching his premises and finding a flash drive that contained 16 images of underage boys displaying their genitals. The detective seized Timothy's flash drive, his Xbox gaming console, a desktop computer, and a laptop. Authorities would later call this case a, quote, classic child predator case, and when reached out to for comment, Disney spokesperson Andrea Finger said that Hammerstone was a former employee and no longer worked for the company. I couldn't find information in regard to how long Mr. Hammerstone was sentenced to, but records online indicate that he was convicted on October 17th of 2018, and he is on the sex offender registry. Moving forward to 2010, we have the case of Justin May. It's a complex crime involving the man hacking into proprietary files at a gaming convention and stealing an unreleased video game that resulted in serious legal trouble and a ban from Xbox Live. In March of 2010, 20-year-old Justin May from Delaware attended the inaugural PAX East Expo in Boston, Massachusetts. However, unlike his fellow peers that attended as well, Justin had a different goal, a sort of Mission Impossible espionage-esque strategy to attain the inner workings and proprietary data regarding games that were being advertised during this specific expo. You see, Justin brought his laptop with him along with other equipment, and on the last day of the show, the young man came across a neglected computer that previously was being used at the booth for the developers of Atomic Games. Seeing his chance, Justin leapt into action, transferring the source code of the game Breach, which had been based off of a CIA training simulator, to his laptop. However, not everything went according to plan. Justin was not conspicuous. He had all of his hacking gear out, and when he was like 14 megabytes into downloading a 2 gig game, he got caught. He stuck out like a sore thumb, and it wouldn't be long before Atomic representatives noticed him getting into this computer. As they went to confront Justin, he simply dipped out of the area and took off running. He was chased all the way through the expo until he was finally caught and arrested, charged with 1 count of larceny over $250 and buying, selling, receiving stolen trade secrets, where he faced up to 5 years in prison and a $25,000 fine on the first charge and 5 years in prison and a $500 fine on the second. Afterwards, Justin posted his $200 cash bail, and on October 27, 2010, the Boston Suffolk County Municipal Court ruled that the now 21-year-old Justin May would not be allowed to access Xbox Live for 18 months, and if he went against this order, the court would proceed further with his charges. If he stayed offline, the charges would be dropped and Justin would face no prison time. In court, he was told, quote, "Stay in school, do not reoffend, stay off Xbox Live websites, and forfeit over your computer." Atomic Games president Peter Tomte announced that the company was pleased with the district attorney's handling of the case, stating, "Had he been able to post Breach on the internet for download and then been caught, he would have likely ended up serving time in jail." Justin had stated that he planned to continue to attend Delaware Technical and Community College. Interestingly, though, years later, a spokesman for the college said that there were zero records of any sort of evidence that indicated Justin May had attended this school in the first place. Nonetheless, Justin got by with a slap on the wrist. Now, you would think that perhaps this would be, the end of Justin's hacking antics. Maybe he figured that this leniency from the court was a chance to start over and work within the legal boundaries of the law, but Justin basically said fuck that. After 2010, Justin began a notorious career, hacking and stealing source codes from all sorts of games, being connected to many multi-million-dollar cyber thefts. He's reportedly been linked to the online theft of a $100 million video game code belonging to Xbox and other companies. In addition to this, he's been in and out of trouble with the FBI related to hacking. If anything, this attempt at breaching Breach's source code was nothing more than him beta testing his own criminal hacking enterprise. In regards to being implicated for these hackings, Justin has denied all allegations, though his denials couldn't stand in front of evidence, as he would eventually be arrested and charged with activities related to this. In 2021, Justin would plead guilty to 42 counts of mail fraud, 10 counts of money laundering, 3 counts of interstate transportation of goods obtained by fraud, and 2 counts of tax evasion. All of these counts stemmed from 2 separate cases, and he would eventually be sentenced to 7 years and 8 months in prison with 5 years of supervised release, while being ordered to pay more than $4 million in restitution and a $300,000 forfeiture. What May was arrested for had to do with him and others registering false domain names and emails, which were then used to submit false warranty claims to companies like Microsoft, Lenovo, Cisco, etc. It was a massive scam that has now led to him being behind bars for some time. In late July of 2012 in Oakley, California, 20-year-old Kevin Kemp lived a few doors down from his 17-year-old friend, and these two would routinely participate in PvP co-op games against one another, each in their respective homes playing on their 360s live, communicating with headsets. But as we all know, sometimes a gamer cannot control their anger in the heat of the moment. Usually it's just screaming and yelling, but on rare occasions things can get quite a bit vicious. What started off as Kemp and his buddy having friendly banter and shit-talking translated into serious frustrations and violent threats that culminated with Kemp issuing a challenge to his friend over the headset. That challenge being, "Come fight me in person, bitch."
We were just talking on the headset. And I'm like, bro, if you want to do this, you come over to my house right now and we'll do this right now.
But what Kemp didn't realize is that his friend had gone from angry to potentially murderous. As soon as Kemp said what he said, he heard his friend's headset drop to the floor, and almost immediately the friend had arrived at Kemp's front door, barged through past Kemp's mother, towards his room. When Kemp's friend appeared at his bedroom door, it turned out that his buddy didn't come to finish a simple fight, he had come to take a life, as the irate gamer possessed a firearm and pointed it straight at Kemp's head. He walks up to my room and he points the gun right at me, and takes out the clip and shows his bullet, puts it back in the gun, tries to shoot me, and he shot it and it went right past my head. Almost hit me. Turned out his friend had a backup plan, unsheathing a knife and stabbing his pal 22 times across his body, narrowly missing Kemp's heart and major arteries across his chest. The angry 17-year-old gamer then fled the scene while paramedics were called and tended to Kemp's wounds. Onlookers observed that Kemp was covered in blood, but luckily he survived and was taken to the hospital. The murderous teenage Xbox Live player was subsequently arrested and faced 1 charge of burglary and 2 counts of attempted murder and would be tried as an adult. Later, Kemp would say that he believed his friendship with the murderous 17-year-old was in fact over, as he showed the local media the numerous scars that he got from his encounter. It's safe to say that gamers don't necessarily make good killers, given the 17-year-old had his victim at point-blank range and still missed, then stabbed him 22 times, and that didn't get the job done. Now, unfortunately, the attempted murder suspect went unnamed in every article written about the incident due to him being under the age of 18. Therefore, it's kind of hard to find any sort of update on his sentencing or what's happened to him these days, but yeah. Imagine your house gets robbed while mid-team deathmatch on Black Ops 2. This is exactly what happens during the 2014 Call of Duty Robbery story. On April Fool's Day in 2014, in an Eastbourne, East Sussex home in England, 19-year-old Jay Giorgio, along with an accomplice, broke in and robbed the place. Jay, who was armed with an imitation handgun, pistol-whipped one of the 3 victims of the home. as both robbers threatened to shoot and stab their captives if they didn't hand over the money or drugs that were in the house. Eventually, the thieves then tied up the victims and took a laptop, a few mobile phones, and an Xbox gaming console. Now, what these criminals did not realize is that before they had broken in, one of the residents of the house had been playing a game of Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on Xbox Live, and the person playing with them was a friend in the nearby town of Brighton. So as they're robbing the place, this friend is hearing everything through his headset and calls the police. So once Giorgio left the premises, he was already being hunted by the British authorities and was arrested 2 hours later, only a mile away from where the crime had taken place. On July 11th of 2014, Jay was sentenced to 8 years in prison for the robbery and possession of an imitation firearm. The masked accomplice, however, was never reported as being caught, as he was indeed wearing a mask the entire time. But this person was described as being white with ginger hair, said to have been between the age of 20 and 25. Interestingly enough, Jay Giorgio would be released from prison, but would be recalled back to finish his sentence in 2022, though he did not heed this callback and actually mocked the police through social media. He was eventually apprehended, given more charges, and put in jail. Xbox 360s were a hot commodity back in the day, not only for it being the key to Xbox Live, apparently some of them also contained keys of coke. This is the 2014 story of the Xbox Coke smugglers. In late 2014, 22-year-old Felix Rodriguez, 26-year-old Nelson Martinez, 20-year-old Wilson Herrera, and 22-year-old Jeffries Herrera of Reading, Pennsylvania had made plans to receive an assortment of illegal drugs through customs. Now, this is always a bad idea, especially a drug like cocaine. Usually drugs and other paraphernalia are instantly flagged by customs, but that being said, criminals keep the drug enforcement agencies on their toes by hiding drugs in interesting compartments, disguising them as everyday items, making them really hard to find. Now, the cocaine in this case that had been ordered by the group would be found and tracked. But the interesting aspect of this whole situation was how the illegal drugs were shipped. On October 8th of 2014, Homeland Security, along with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office of Philadelphia, contacted the Berks County Drug Task Force after being tipped off about kilos of cocaine being smuggled from the Dominican Republic into numerous addresses in Burke County. And one of the shipments that was discovered by authorities was reportedly labeled, quote, video game Xbox 360 use, which was sent to an address on the 500 block of Spruce Street in Reading, Pennsylvania. The shipment seemed like an ordinary Xbox video game console, but it was actually a game console stuffed with over 1,000 grams of cocaine, with the potential street value of over $100,000. On October 10th of 2014 at around 2 p.m., while investigators and undercover officers observed the address that the Xbox was destined to ship to, they spotted several men who they believed were waiting on the package. This included Rodriguez, Martinez, and Wilson, and Jeffries Herrera. Given that the authorities had already intercepted this package, they deployed an undercover operative to deliver that package to the address at around 3:30 p.m. It was Jeffries Herrera who allegedly accepted and signed for the parcel before heading back into his home. Not soon after that, it was reported that Jeffries had left the house with the parcel in tow and made his way to another property on Spruce Street, where he then met with the 3 other suspects. He placed the package into the trunk of a black Acura, and authorities began shadowing the vehicle. The vehicle traveled to another location at the 1600 block of Hancock Boulevard in Cumru Township, Pennsylvania, and soon after, police descended upon the house as the suspects attempted to flee on foot, but they were eventually apprehended and taken into custody. After obtaining search warrants for the homes on Spruce Street and Hancock Boulevard, police obtained a shitload of illegal items and paraphernalia that was used to ship this stuff. They found the 1,100 grams of cocaine with a street value of over $100,000, miscellaneous Xbox game parts and console parts, a heat sealer machine, miscellaneous packaging material related to cocaine, a cutting agent related to cocaine, over 14 cell phones, 5 counter surveillance video cameras, digital scales, and about $600 cash. Investigators also stated that they found Xbox gaming consoles on the kitchen table inside the Kumru Township home, which had been disassembled. They were using it to ship this stuff. Interestingly enough, when the package was seized by police, it was found to actually be an original Xbox, not the Xbox 360 that was advertised on the coke package. The group was charged with delivery of a controlled substance and other related offenses. Now, this whole thing would actually be part of an even larger drug trafficking ring that occurred from June to October of 2014. This activity included smuggling over 1 kilo of heroin and over 5 kilos of coke that were sent from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, where the hardcore drugs were hidden in items such as Xbox consoles, air filters, and projectors. There were over 11 suspects that were convicted and sentenced by July of 2015. This included our Xbox smugglers. Jeffries Herrera was sentenced to 57 months of imprisonment. Felix Rodriguez was sentenced to 87 months in prison. Nelson Martinez was given 63 months, and Wilson Herrera was sentenced to 120 months in prison. This next 2014 case involves a terminally online gamer with a vengeance, who along with his ring of online troublemakers placed bomb threats at schools and locations that Xbox Live gaming events were being held. At the time, 22-year-old Mathew Tollis of Wethersfield, Connecticut went on a digital rampage in the year of 2014, becoming the bane of existence to many online. He and his Xbox gamer group called Team Crucifix or Die, or TCOD, would SWAT multiple facilities, including universities, 2 high schools in New Jersey, a high school in Texas, and they placed the call to the University of Connecticut's admissions department as a hoax on April 3rd of 2014. According to federal prosecutors, this event shut down the school for almost 3 hours. The group, who would eventually change its name to ISIS Gang and would be connected to hacker Julius Kivamaki, was made up of mostly people from the US and the United Kingdom that would use Skype calls to plan and participate in bomb threats and swattings, as well as intimidate government officials. They were a pretty intense group of black hat hackers that were notorious for harassing and swatting many events, establishments, and celebrities. One particular instance pertained to them calling the Sandy Hook Elementary School and issuing a threat just a couple of years after the mass shooting in 2012. It's believed that Tollis actually joined the group after he was harassed by them. And to prevent further abuse from them, he decided to follow a couple of members on Twitter. Not only would he follow them on Twitter, Tollis would eventually fully join the group, and he himself would be responsible for identifying potential institutions that they could hit next with hoax bomb threats and telephone calls. Tollis participated in his first swatting when he, along with others, made a call to the Hebron High School in Carrollton, Texas, and reported that a student was in possession of a firearm. The news of the swatting would make its way to Twitter, and a couple of members of the group took responsibility for the bomb threat in deleted tweets, including one that showed a screenshot of the Skype call. Tollis also participated in bomb threats against New Jersey high schools, UConn, Boston University, and the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. The latter was hosting an exhibition tournament for gamers that had 60,000 in attendance when the bomb threat was received. The caller had claimed to be an Iraqi national who said they were working for Allah, named Matt Hag, and this person said that they had placed explosives around the building the night before. However, it would come to a head when Tollis would be found out and arrested on September 3rd of 2014 on charges stemming from the bomb threat called to the University of Connecticut. He then pled guilty in June of 2015 to conspiring to engage in the malicious conveying of false information. For participating in a total of 6 swattings, Matt Tollis would be sentenced to 1 year and a day in prison on October 13th of 2015. After his stay in prison, he would be given 3 years of supervised release. Jesus Christ, 2014 was an active year for Xbox crime, but probably the most impactful Xbox Live related crime that occurred this year was the extremely disruptive Lizard Squad hacks. Lizard Squad, for those who don't know, was a black hat hacking group that mostly targeted large corporations, specifically gaming-related ones, and routinely made attempts to disrupt their servers. Their stated goal was to expose security flaws, essentially put the egg on the face of Sony and Xbox for, they always would say it's like you're exposing your customers to danger, but they really just wanted to cause chaos. Now, 2014 was pretty much the pinnacle of Lizard Squad. Most of their notorious hackings happened then, and on one particularly noteworthy event, the collective assortment of black hat hackers would take responsibility for taking down the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live on Christmas Eve of 2014, leading to outrage amongst gamers worldwide. In early December, Lizard Squad had warned the community that they had planned to take down Microsoft and Sony's networks on Christmas Eve, claiming that they will be this generation's version of the Grinch, and as Christmas Eve rolled around, they made good on their promise. Basically how this happened was Lizard Squad, who was pretty much renowned for their DDoSing attacks, reportedly launched a massive distributed denial service attack that overloaded Sony and Microsoft's network with bogus requests. Like most black hat hackers, Lizard Squad moved around anonymously and discreetly, and when they communicated with the public, it was done through encrypted measures. And when asked by the media about why they did this crazy PlayStation Xbox Live hack, they shared some insight. They've made many statements in regard to why they wanted to do this, such as they wanted to do it, quote, for the laughs, and, quote, it would anger and reach the largest amount of people, going as far as to brag that they could, quote, take down the NASDAQ if they wanted to damage the economy. But apparently they were charitable and just wanted to fuck up Sony and Xbox, I guess. As Sony and Microsoft scrambled to offset the attacks and upgrade their security, a vigilante hacking group named the Finest Squad would attempt to fight fire with fire against their black hat predecessors by DDoSing Lizard Squad servers to stop the source of the attacks. Now, this all really began in early December as Lizard Squad was starting to attack the video game networks, but that's when the Finest Squad struck with their counterattack. The group then reportedly managed to break into the public Twitter accounts and websites connected to Lizard Squad members, releasing their names and photographs online. And unsurprisingly, not long after this, several Lizard Squad members would resign. Anyway, I quit, LOL. If I want you to contact me, you got my contact. Let's go, gang shit only. RIU 2001 to 2014. Others live tweeted their arrest. RIP, I'm going down for this one. Free Jordy. Just got out the station. Hashtag OTFG Lock Boys. What the fuck? Be back soon. They have a lot on me. They want me back for questioning in an hour. Yo, police are at my door. Aside from completely mollywopping some of Lizard Squad and basically finding all of their information that would lead to their arrests for crimes such as swatting, Finest Squad also revealed how the black hat hackers were able to take down the video game networks. So yeah, they essentially use a tactic that sends a bunch of web traffic to a single network, and all of this traffic takes the web server down, pretty much explaining what a DDoS is to a majority of people who never really heard that term in 2014. Revealing that a cost of such a potent attack only costs about $300 to do. And to make sure that no nefarious copycats could repeat Lizard Squad's antics, the Finest Squad submitted information detailing the vulnerabilities discovered from the networks that were under attack. And as many of you are aware, Lizard Squad was successful in their venture, and Sony and Xbox's servers for online play were knocked out not only for Christmas and the days following, but for like weeks afterwards. It was a huge issue. It was a clusterfuck for a bit, but the madness would die down in time. Needless to say, it was an eventful Christmas online. A full-blown hacker war, back and forth negotiations, and a lot of angry gamers screaming at their Xboxes and PlayStations. So the native Xbox Live voice chat, it certainly was more popular back in the day. It's kind of been made obsolete by Discord and voice chats like that. But if you're an OG, you certainly remember how poppin' Xbox Live voice chat could get.
Dick, nigga, what a fucking homo. Exactly, dick. This nigga said he's dick.
And I think it goes without saying that Xbox Live voice chat has a history of abuse. Sadly, some have used it to facilitate inappropriate relationships, as with the Sammy Garcia case From 2018, 19-year-old Sammy Garcia of Roswell, New Mexico had connected with a 13-year-old girl from Gilbert, Arizona on Xbox Live, and what started out as two players interacting through games soon turned sexual as they began to plan a rendezvous with one another, where Sammy would journey across state lines and allegedly have multiple sexual encounters with the minor. This sexual abuse and assault was said to have taken place on 3 occasions, taking place at the girl's home and a Best Western Inn. During one of these occasions, it was reported that Sammy had brought the minor chocolates that were laced with THC, but it would be the Best Western Legacy visit that would be Sammy's undoing. You see, it seemed the minor's mother had become aware of Sammy's trips across state lines to have illegal sexual conduct with her underage daughter. Thus, immediately, the mother reported this to the Gilbert Police Department in Arizona. And on November 1st of 2018, Sammy was confronted by the mother, where he admitted to engaging in sexual acts with the minor, and the police soon arrived and arrested and charged Sammy with 12 counts of sexual conduct with the minor and 2 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. During their investigation, police interviewed the victim, where she stated that she had in fact engaged in said activity on 2 occasions at the hotel. Therefore, the authorities served a search warrant to the Best Western Legacy Inn, which provided them with an ample amount of evidence consisting of video footage of the two together, along with used condoms and other biological evidence. Later, the victim would also tell police that there were at least 9 different instances of sexual conduct between her and Garcia, which occurred at the victim's bedroom at her Gilbert home. Court documents state that Garcia admitted to knowingly engaging in sexual conduct with the underage victim, stating that he understood that his actions were against the law, but did not think his actions were morally wrong. He also admitted to driving across state lines from New Mexico with the intentions of having sexual encounters with a minor, along with sneaking into the mother's home and using the hotel room. As far as I can find, court proceedings are still pending in this case. The last story in today's chronology comes from 2022, and it's one of the most offbeat. It's the case of Anthony Vaggiano, a man who operated an illegal stock trading ring via Xbox Live chat. Anthony Vaggiano, a 27-year-old successful man from Long Island, who at one point worked as an analyst for Goldman Sachs and won an award at the University of Tampa's Ethics Invitational in 2018 for conducting business with integrity. Well, what if I told you this guy would throw his entire career out of the window, facing federal indictments, all due to him hanging out with his buddies on Xbox Live? How does that happen? Now, I use the term hanging out with his buddies rather loosely because it turns out Vaggiano was allegedly using his experience, working with hedge fund companies like Blackstone and Goldman Sachs to do a bit of inside trading with his friends, tipping them off to upcoming mergers and acquisitions that would boost the stock prices of the respective companies. Between the years of 2021 and 2023, Anthony was allegedly doing all of this through the encrypted app Signal and the Xbox video game console chat, feeding confidential financial information to his friend, 35-year-old Christopher Salamone, who grew up on the same block as Anthony. Basically, they'd play games together, and Anthony would give a few insider trading tips to his buddies, and those friends would tell their families, and thus began a chain reaction of everyone, allegedly getting in on trades early and making money. Manhattan federal prosecutors allege that these tips led to over $300,000 in illicit gains. Now, early on, Anthony had been confident that the FBI were not going to find anything. But once both he and his friend Christopher were interviewed by them, it seemed that Christopher allegedly folded and began recording Anthony during their conversations in June of 2022. During these recordings, Vaggiano can sort of be braggadociously heard, assuring his friends that the police or the feds wouldn't be able to trace their communications regarding the illegal stock tips, despite him being recorded the entire time. Salamone would later plead guilty to 3 counts of securities fraud and 1 count of conspiracy as he continued to cooperate with investigators. However, there would be even more, as it was reported that a college buddy of Vaggiano, 27-year-old Stephen Farlano, Vaggiano had allegedly pocketed around $114,000 based on illegal tips. An indictment also named 26-year-old Nathan Bleckley, a U.S. Army captain who had also attended college with Mr. Vaggiano. It's being alleged that he made $25,000 based on tips that he received from Forlano, which were similar to the tips received from Mr. Vaggiano. But luckily for Bleckley, he was not facing criminal charges and is working with the FBI. Vaggiano and Forlano were arrested in May of 2023, and in his indictment, Mr. Vaggiano faced 9 securities fraud and conspiracy charges. Mr. Forlano faced 4 conspiracy charges, and all 4 of the men were facing civil charges from the SEC. Later, Anthony pled guilty in January of 2024, and on July 17, 2024, Anthony Vaggiano would be sentenced to 28 months in prison and admitted that his conduct was catastrophically stupid. Forlano was also sentenced to 13 months in prison, and Salomon was given probation. And well, you've made it to the end. Let me know what you guys thought about this video down below in the comments section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.